Hi, my name is Elena Petzhold. I am the owner and creator of Mama's MilkBox, and today I'm talking with Derek Champagne about my entrepreneurial journey.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I want to take a moment and talk with anyone who is having any challenges with their branding or with building an effective marketing campaign. I'm super excited that my wife Valerie and I have a new marketing course, an online course, which is a certificate program, a 2-week course that we share all of our secrets for building an effective brand and for building a marketing campaign that works and takes all the guesswork out of your marketing, provides an action plan, and gives recommendations for marketing tactics that actually get results. You can learn more at champagnemarketingcourses.com. We've got a great guest today. You may have seen her on Shark Tank. She's making some big waves around the country with her business, Mama's MilkBox. Elena Petzhold, welcome to the program today.
Hi, Derek. Thanks for having me.
I'd love to hear about your story. I remember when I saw you on Shark Tank, you've got a cool journey. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. And so can you take us a little bit back through how you got to where you are today?
Yes. How far back are we going?
Tell me some highlights where you found yourself with this product or with a gap in the marketplace and decided that you were going to explore.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people ask me how I came up with the idea to create Mama's MilkBox. And what's funny is that was not my idea at all. The business actually started out, I was pregnant. I was with my second pregnancy, and I was really struggling to find maternity clothes in Pittsburgh that I liked. So I was going to open a maternity and nursing boutique in the region. And then actually I had difficulties with my pregnancy, which delayed me from opening a physical location. But I had inventory, and a lot of moms were looking forward to the store opening. So what I started to do was sell via private appointment. And I would do styling consult, phone conversations with my moms, and then I'd pull clothes that I thought that they would like and in their size, and then I would drive to their house with a rack, and basically they would shop like that. So it's kind of like an in-home, one-on-one, door-to-door shopping appointment style.
Right. So,
and then, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, it took off. I wasn't solely doing that at the beginning. I still planned to open the store, but I was actually busy enough that I delayed opening the store more because it gave me a little bit of flexibility with my children. And then one of my clients said she had a friend who was really jealous of not only the clothes that she had, but the way that she was shopping, that's this very personal styling, shopping way. And I told her, just, give your friend my number and I'll do the same thing for her. Her friend lived in Chicago. I said, I'll send a box to your friend of a couple things I think she'll like, and whenever she doesn't like, just send back. And that's really where it took off. That mom was in a breastfeeding group, and she took the box to one meeting, and then I had 2 moms email me from there, and then I sent 2 boxes, and then 3 moms called me from there, and it just it was a force to be reckoned with, basically. Wow. Is how it happened. What
period of time was that from day one until you started to realize that you were onto something or that the snowball was happening?
Yeah, so I started my business in 2013. I realized what the potential could be with the service for 2014. And then by mid-2015, it was so busy, and that's really where our sales were, that exclusively became the business.
Wow. What kind of transformation did you see when you started out going door to door, basically? And when did you realize that it was a subscription model?
I always say I fell into it, so that's the really funny part. because I would have never even dreamed that it would be. It was right around the time that all of these subscription models were becoming a thing.
Right.
And we went back and forth between having it be a subscription. We kept it as a subscription because it was convenient for the moms. And I think just overall the fact that they kept coming back for more is what made us realize that that's what it was. I mean, I would have people every couple of weeks contact me and say, okay, what else you got? And it was like, wow, we just sent you a couple $100 of clothes 2 months ago. But the funny thing about breastfeeding clothes is it's very addicting. Breastfeeding is a full-time job for new moms, whether they're pumping or doing it, exclusively with the babies. And having the clothes that help you do that is so completely life-changing that once you, get 1 or 2 or 3 pieces, you realize, why don't I have, 10 or 15?
Wow. So tell me a little bit about, are there any challenges or setbacks that happened along the way that you did not expect or were not expecting as you were launching this business that took you by surprise?
I think from the get-go, and it's still an issue we have, the technology. There's not really, my model is so very unique, there's not really the exact technology we need on the back end to kind of keep it going at the speed we want. If I had realized that at the forefront, I might have planned a little differently, but I was kind of hoping some point down the line we get an investor. Right. So I thought that would kind of resolve that, but we're not there yet. So that's something that it's like one of those things that you don't realize is going to be a problem, then is going to be a problem, and then sometimes hopefully you can make it go away, and then sometimes you can't. And so we can't right now, and then what we have to do sometimes is just close our line, which is really hard. It's like, we have customers lining up, but we can only process so many shipments. We're physically human, we're not robots who can't go nonstop. So, when the queue becomes way too long, that we just cannot physically pack that many boxes in a day, we close the queue for periods of time.
It's a good problem to have, but it's also a dangerous problem to have as well, to keep a balance and satisfying your demand.
It is, because they get very mad.
Right.
we get a lot of moms that get upset. What we did last year to try and resolve some of that is that we added an additional sales channel. And so we do make the option available to moms to either shop direct if they can't get a shipment. So they still can get the same clothes, and they just kind of have to do some of it themselves. They have to place their own order.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I guess your customers are also in a certain time frame as well, aren't they? So they might feel a different urgency than somebody else that just kind of wants a product just because they feel like having it.
Yes, and our customers are also very emotional. So when they want it, they want it. And I understand completely, because that was how I kind of started the business. It was I was, wringing my fist at the sky, I want certain clothes, and my poor husband, I told him one day, I'm going to open a store, and he's like, okay, thinking it was a one-time thing, and then meanwhile it turned into Mama's MilkBox.
I love it. So let's talk about this for a minute then. Tell me about satisfying customers' demands, and how do you approach customer service? What are some of the things that you've found that have worked well in communicating with your customers and building a relationship with them?
I would say our customers, even the ones who have needs that we can't meet, they still feel satisfied because we're always honest and sincere. We try to temper expectations, and we do go above and beyond. I actually used to work at Disney in my college years, so I kind of have that, you do whatever you can for the customer mindset. So we do bend over backwards where we can, even for very specific requests or things like that. And then a lot of our customers, because they've been with us for so long, just kind of know, even if they want something, we tried our best. Or, if we couldn't make it happen, they're not terribly upset because they know. And then, we do other little things, if we have times when items go out of stock and, whatever, we'll send them an email and say, unfortunately that item isn't around anymore, but we do so much value, your business. Here's a free shipping code. We just, really value your loyalty and the fact that you keep coming back for more. And they tend to be pretty happy with stuff like that.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. So what are some of the key marketing initiatives that work for you? I would imagine that social is an important element for you, but what are some other channels that have just been really powerful for you? Because
fashion is so visual, We do well on like Pinterest and stuff like that too. Really, it's so funny, but really most of it is just the social. Even just the word of mouth, Facebook is insanely powerful. It's almost more powerful. We have a whole group of customers that came in from a whole Facebook group that we didn't even know about. It's actually called the Physicians Moms Group. And 2 years ago, it's in our profile, like, how did you hear about us? And 2 years ago, we had like a day where we just had like 50 moms come in from PMG. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this PMG? Right. And I just called one of the customers and I said, I'm so sorry. This is Elena from Mama's MilkBox. And, we're so excited you just joined us. But I'm sorry, what's PMG? And she told me, and she said, I guess one of our customers, because we didn't even know, had gotten a box and took all these pictures and posted it in the group. And it's a pretty big group. It had about 50,000 moms in it. So. Wow. That was like that was one of those times where we're like, oh my gosh, these girls and I were like, how are we going to fill all these boxes?
I love seeing products that have the quality where it's got organic value to it. We spend, and again, I have a marketing company here. We spend so much time doing promotions and click-throughs and pay-per-call and all these different ads, but nothing can substitute a good product and the viral value when someone believes in it and starts to share it with their network.
Yeah, I've always believed. I mean, I think marketing, and that's really my true background. I think marketing, having a nice marketing budget could be great, but I've always believed you can have a successful business or product with zero marketing dollars. Right. If it's really that good, people want to talk about it. People want to share it.
So you're direct to customer. You don't have a retail distribution. Is that correct?
That is correct. We don't do. It's weird because we do have our own private label. And I go back and forth. We have our own private label, but right now we're keeping it exclusive to the MilkBox. We've thought about whether or not we should go to trade shows and we could develop the private label more if we did, through other smaller boutiques. I've toyed around for a while too with potentially direct sales models because we would really like to have stylists across the region, but we're just not going to do that right now.
So let me ask you this. I'm a small business owner as well. I work with a lot of businesses as a consultant. When us business owners, small business owners, and a lot of our listeners, we've got so many decisions and options that can take us a whole direction that maybe we shouldn't go or maybe we should. How do you stay focused and evaluate to make the decisions that you make?
Exactly. And that's the hardest part, I think, of owning your own business is it could be one thing and, there is so much out there. I personally feel very lucky. I am completely surrounded by people who over the years, I mean, they know I'm a crazy entrepreneur. So my brain is always going and they're used to it. I do really talk to the people, and it's not even like, the people I love. It's people who just give me the feedback, people who run with the ideas that I have and really give me the worst possible feedback so that I can evaluate whether or not that's something we don't want to do. I always say sometimes it's easier to know, because I actually work with other brands too. Sometimes when I have two other companies and we talk about branding, and I say sometimes it's easier to know what you're not than what you are. So that can get confusing, but it's very hard sometimes for people to sit there and say, this is what we are, or this is what I am. And then when you say, okay, but are you this, but are you that, if you weed it out that way. And so that was kind of, when we were toying around with this model too and debating whether or not to do direct sales, it was like, well, are we parties? Do we want to be parties? And, it's always been my mission to help moms and support moms. So to the extent, I mean, I'm proud our team right now is all moms. So it's all their salary is anything that they make is for moms. And if I could do that more, then I would love that because I think it's an untapped market and I think all moms need more support. But I didn't want to change the vibe of the company, which is we don't want to be about parties. We want to be about breastfeeding support. So we didn't want people to feel like necessarily they were being pushed into something. We wanted them to feel like they were surrounded by something.
That's great. Let me ask you about designing and evolving your product. It seems like fashion is always evolving and there's adjustments that have to be made. How much do you lean into your team and how much do you get feedback from your customers about the direction that your product goes?
Some of it is limited by even just the capabilities of the manufacturers. And my team is really big, and our local MilkBox moms are really big too. When we have new styles, we bring them to them and we have them try it on. And I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, just give me the honest feedback. I think the worst part for most entrepreneurs is the feedback, because a lot of people are very personal.
Right.
And putting yourself out there can make you very vulnerable, but you really have to be willing to hear the feedback to make the smart decisions. And so to me, when we have new styles and we give it to the girls, and the whole team tries it on too, we all try it on. And if somebody hates it, they're like, oh, I hate this. I don't cry a river. I go, all right, we got somebody who doesn't like it, so,
right.
Why don't you like it? And kind of go from there. And then it's, in that regard, it's easy to figure out what's going to work and what's not going to work, because everybody who loves it, loves it. And then when people don't love it, it's very weird like that.
But I love that you're getting feedback, and it's so important. And we see a lot of small businesses get stuck or have marginal success because they're not willing to ask the hard questions, and they're so married to their product and in love with it, they're afraid to get feedback, and that's only doing a disservice to themselves.
That is it. That's the one thing I think that any entrepreneur has to have. And it's a weird correlation, but I almost say it's like being a celebrity. You have to have thick skin,
right,
because you have to be willing to listen to the absolute worst. And if you can't, then you're not going to be able to properly manage it.
That's great advice. Elena, when we come back from the break, I want to talk to you more about what success means to you. I want to talk about the American Diabetes Association. I've got the honor of being a Kiss a Pig candidate this year, which means I have the opportunity to help raise money for the American Diabetes Association locally. The ADA has been funding initiative and innovative research to combat diabetes since 1955. And in 2011, they funded more than $35.75 million a year in research at 139 research institutions across the country. The statistics, approximately 1.25 million American children and adults have type 1 diabetes. As many as 1 in 3 American adults will have diabetes in 2050 if present trends continue. I want to invite you to join me in supporting the American Diabetes Association. You can learn more at diabetes.org or stopdiabetes.com to see how you can get involved. Elena, I want to talk about success. What does success mean to you?
It's so funny, because I was just answering this question today for somebody else. Everybody wants success,
Right.
I look at business, when I'm doing business, I think to have personal success is one thing, but I think if you want to be successful in business, I evaluate it strictly on business. And for me, it's sales and profit, particularly profit. If you don't have that profit, then you're not really a viable business.
Right.
And in which case, you will probably feel not successful in life either, because you're kind of spinning the wheel and not getting where you want to go. So for me, success was always that, because I always say, well, you can sell anything if the price is right, but if you're not making profit, then why are you doing it?
That's great advice. We had this conversation this morning in our team as well, and I think it's the obligation of the management to focus on, yes, the culture, but profit first to make sure that you're profitable in order to grow your team and your brands. That it has to happen from there, or you're not going to have longevity.
Exactly. But it's super, super, super hard with the giants of Target and Amazon. I mean, you really have to be nimble and think on your feet and evaluate your model and constantly change it to improve it, to make it better, because you're coming in with people who have more resources and more money than you'll have. So I don't know. I like being an entrepreneur. It's kind of like being the underdog,
You're so right. And the days of building something and letting it sit there and it just continues to grow on its own, that can happen still. But most of the businesses that I know or that we work with, including our own, we can never get fat cat syndrome or lazy. We either have a giant ahead of us or we've got some hungry startups behind us. And so we've always got to be watching to make sure we're staying relevant. We're listening to the needs of the customers. We're staying profitable. And there's a lot of dynamics and considerations to continue to stay relevant.
Yeah, what Amazon announced a styling service earlier this year, and actually one of my best friends had seen it in the news before I even heard of it, and she texted me immediately, and she goes, "Oh my God, Amazon is going to do this, are you shutting down?" And I was like, "Oh man, those boogers are really coming after us." But I was like, actually for me, I was like, you know what? We just took Mama's MilkBox and we made it better because we used to do a discount where it was like save $10 if you kept 2 items or 10% off 3 or more. And now we've modified it. So it's you save 10% if you keep 3 or more items or 25% if you save if you keep 5 or more. So my attitude whenever someone else kind of challenges you is like, all right, let's bring it. Let's see what we're doing next. How can we continue to add more value for the customer so that they remain loyal to us?
Yeah, it keeps you sharp. It definitely does. So tell me, what's your proudest accomplishment that you've had with your business? It doesn't have to be a big moment. It could be something small that you remember of kind of being an aha moment for you, or it could be something big.
Well, Shark Tank is definitely up there because that was really, really challenging on both a business and personal level. But outside of that, I would have to say the funnest day was the day we hit $100,000 in sales.
Cool. Yeah.
It's definitely one of those things where you go like, did I just do that?
Yeah.
So to really see revenues and numbers like that from something that you don't even think you're going to get, or that was really a fun day. And then oddly, some of my other really memorable and proud moments, I'm a mompreneur. I've got 2 kids. So ever since I started working, and I knew once I was working, if I wanted it to be successful, I'd have to work a little bit more and be committed to it. I knew I'd be in my office more. I set up a desk for my children in my home office. And and one of my greatest days was the day my son took his older clothes, which didn't fit him anymore. And I didn't even realize he was doing this, but he put them in a box and he closed the box. And he said, all right, Mom, he said, I'm ready to sell these clothes. Like, here's Ben's box. And it's one thing to have my business grow and help people. I mean, I really love what we do, but to also see how it affected my children in a positive way, that kind of made me feel good with the decision that, I decided to take the leap.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I know it's for families of entrepreneurs. My wife was the same way growing up, and our family business as well, as the conversation at the dinner table sometimes ends up revolving around from time to time about the challenges or the growth of the business. So the kids get to see a pretty early on hands-on approach to the boardroom around the dinner table. We've had to
it becomes easy for them to talk about this stuff. So whereas you get to the point where one day you're hoping to ask for money or whatever, my 5-year-old is already asking me to increase his allowance. doesn't even stumble.
I think that's awesome. I love that you saw that with your son. So cool. Any advice you have? We've got business owners, we've got entrepreneurs, but we've got several people out there who are maybe thinking about going off on their own, or they've got this idea. What would you say to somebody that has this idea, that's thinking about jumping off the ledge or putting their toe in the water to start their own business? Yeah,
my one thing is always don't be afraid. I was afraid. I was afraid for a long time until my pregnancy hormones kicked in. I've always had some business in another shape or form, but not. It was always like a smaller business, not something that turned into like some big company. So I never even dreamed that. But when my small business turned into something that was more, when the door-to-door turned into something that was more, that was kind of when I sat down and I really had to say, like, am I going to do this? And that was actually a really crazy conversation I had with my husband. But I kind of sat there and I said, I'm afraid if I don't do this, that I'm really going to regret this and that I'm never going to let it go. That I'm going to kind of always have some resentment to people as to why I held it back. Did I do this because, I was nervous I wouldn't be there for my kids or, for whatever. And, my husband was really great about it. He said, you know what, I don't want you to ever live like that. He said, I don't want you to not know. I said, I had these feelings that it could be something. And I was more afraid of not pursuing the feelings and kind of living with that regret. And that's the one thing. It's like, even if certain things in business haven't turned out the way I've always thought, the one thing I know is I'm so happy because I have no regrets.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the support of the spouse is so helpful as well. I can relate to that personally, of my wife being supportive, and we decided to take a journey together on our first business. And without that support, it would have been a lot more challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're taking that information, you're writing a book, because the one book I haven't found is the book for spouses of entrepreneurs. I feel really bad for them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We had somebody who I was talking to helping start a business, and his wife was very nervous, and I said, you know what, and she said, can I talk to your wife? I said, that's probably better than talking to me about it, because she can tell you much better what it was like to go through those lean years and the busy times and all of those things that are the cycle of a business and the ups and downs.
Yeah, because you're on a roller coaster. So, I mean, your poor spouse thinks like you're saying, hey, let's go, enjoy this lazy river. It'll be a fun adventure or whatever. And meanwhile, they're on like whatever the greatest roller coaster at a great adventure is, where they're going like 180 degrees up in the air or 90 degrees down. I don't even know, but it's like, they didn't sign up for it.
No, they didn't. And that reminds me of another rewarding moment too, though, that I can think of for myself was when I said, trust me, I think we've got to do this. And when it did start to get traction, just that rewarding part of going, okay, we were onto something and we did this together and we're not crazy and we're getting traction and it's working. And that was a fun moment for us early on.
Isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. You really have to celebrate. I always say in business, and I always say, you're a business when you have the bad days too, because you're not going to be a business if you don't have the bad days. Right. So they're bound to come, and I always say, especially because of the ups and the downs, it's really important to celebrate the ups. I mean, we even hit $250,000 of sales last year, and I was just to be able to like say that, I was like, that was just so cool, and my husband, he's great. He's like, yeah, you did it all by yourself. I mean, I have a really amazing team, but even that was a learning process, trying to pick the people that you surround yourself with. Because I always say, and especially from the family or the parent perspective, I'm like, no one's going to love your business the way you love it. It's like your baby. Right. So that's always the hardest part.
It's so true, and we can be blind sometimes with love or with adoration for our baby sometimes. And so,
exactly.
And our
you have to be able to put the baby down at times.
And how do you do that? How do you find? How do you achieve balance between your mom? You've got a business. How do you do that? I mean, I've got that same challenge with my life.
Yeah, and it is very, very easy to be all consumed by your business. Mm-hmm. I mean, especially if you want it to be successful. But if you're in your business for the long run, you're going to need the mental breaks. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I did, and it was a few years ago, was I set quote-unquote office hours. I use the term very loosely. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, my family knows between 8 to 4, if you can't reach me, it's because I'm working. Mm-hmm. I might be on a call or something like that. And that was really hard to do in my first and my second year, just especially because my kids were so small, and I would often bring my baby on appointments with me. Like I used to baby wear her during some appointments. So it's hard to kind of go back and forth, but that was very draining. And so as soon as my kids got old enough, and my mom actually watches my kids so that I can work, and as soon as my mom was available to watch them a set hours, I was like, okay, that's going to be it. I work during those set hours. And then to have the other set hours of things that will never change. So dedicated time. Like, I do still work a lot, but I do go with each of my children once a week. I have a date. So my son and I go on a date once a week. And that's his time and nobody else's time. And, same for my daughter and same for my husband.
That's great. I love that advice.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be fancy, Right now my husband and I are watching The Americans, but cool. That's our date. Yeah. We're going to sit down, we're going to watch TV together. Like we make sure nothing else comes in between that time.
Yeah, and that time's important, and they know you're carving it out for them, and that helps. So give me a quick, we've got just a couple more minutes. Give me a quick highlight of Shark Tank. We know you're on the show. What were the takeaways for you that surprised you, or that you felt like were of value when you walked away?
You know what? The whole thing was valuable. It's still, I didn't get the outcome that I wanted, but the whole experience was everything I dreamt it could have been and more. Even on a personal level, having prepared for it in the way I prepared for it, it's kind of like the marathon, like you're training for something. Like I was really nervous. Like I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it into this tank and say all this without shaking the whole time? Right. And what I did was I taped each of their faces in my office. And every time I would walk past them, I would just look at these black and white pictures of, these famous entrepreneurs and like, say, hello, Damon, like, hello, Mr. Wonderful, And then one day I just said it and it wasn't nerve-wracking, So, but the whole learning about the TV experience was really cool. The whole going through it was really cool. The whole achieving it was really cool. And it was very, very difficult in the tank. And there's actually so much more behind the scenes, which was amazing. But really, too, at the end of the day, I did get very valuable feedback. Mr. Wonderful actually completely ripped into me. And it's the best, But again, I love that kind of feedback. To me, it's like, give me your worth, I mean, even at the beginning, that's what I said to my husband. I said, what is one of the worst things you can say? And the best part is, no matter what people said afterwards, nobody said the clothes were ugly. And what we do is we sell clothes.
Right.
So,
there you go. Right.
So I was very, very happy with that. I said, out of all of the things and the feedback that people have given, nobody said, these are not clothes I would ever wear, or, I don't like these clothes. And I said, and at the end of the day, that's what we do, is we sell good-looking clothes. So if nobody had that, well, then at least that message came across.
We had Karen Posada from the Good Promise on, and they really ripped her product, and they tasted her product, and they spit it out and made faces about how gross it was. And she talked about her experience of how tough that was. You may have had the model challenged, your business model and your valuation, but you did not have the product challenged, which is great, which is a testament to your product. And that's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. I do feel bad for other people like that who have something very, very personal, and then the feedback is so personal. I do think that can be hard to overcome. It's very... you're putting yourself out there, but again, at least you have no regrets.
What kind of Shark Tank effect did you have coming out of that?
Well, I mean, our subscriber base grew significantly.
Good.
I actually had to shut down the queue for a period of time in the spring because it was too overwhelming, and then I was also doing a bunch of other meetings trying to see if we could get funding for the technology we're looking for. And then there was some not so nice stuff. I'm pretty tough as nails, so that's the good news. Like, for me, people would just say things, and, I'm raising kids, and I'm raising tiny humans to be, like, amazing people. Right. So some of the stuff, when people said it, I would just think to myself, like, how can you even say that? Your mother would be so embarrassed to hear you talk like that, Wow. So I didn't really take it personal so much as I thought, what, that's a real shame on people.
Was that more just trolling kind of things afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was really, really bad. Some of the emails people sent, it's like I wouldn't even repeat it, but it's like, again, the mom in me, I read it, and all I could think was, man, I feel bad for any other participants this season who are getting this and aren't, strong enough to be like, delete, whatever.
Right. Wow, that's tough. But you got through it. You got an increase in subscribers. Any last things you want to share with our audience today?
I would say go for it. I would also say one of the interesting feedbacks I got in terms of, as it relates to Shark Tank, someone said, there's other ways to get funding. And I would say that's true, but when you can get publicity for your product in the mix, always go for the free publicity. I mean, I wouldn't call it free in all regards, but at the end of the day, it didn't cost my company dollars. Right. And I don't want to say believe in yourself, because I think there's going to be times when people don't believe in themselves, but I definitely want to say, you really only have this one life. And so if this is that one dream, kind of go get them. Like, don't just be held back by that fear.
Yeah, that's great advice, and I love how you've done that. You've been an example of it. You had a vision, you had an idea for a product, it started to take off, and it's just a very cool entrepreneurial story. I'm excited to see what kind of other growth you have, how you overcome some of the technology or some of the other challenges. I'm excited to see what you guys do. We're going to continue to follow you. Thank you so much again for being our guest, and our listeners can go to mamasmilkbox.com. Is that what you recommend to learn more about your product?
Yeah, that's that. And then I just started a blog not too long ago called the Mompreneur Files.
Cool.
I do, because I do get a lot of women particularly. I do think it's a unique subset to be a mom and an entrepreneur. So I get a lot of questions for that. And I thought, what, if I just blog that kind of stuff, that'll make it a little easier than answering some of the same questions at the same time.
That's awesome. What is the URL for that?
www.the mompreneur, so mompreneur, files, files.com.
That's awesome. Elena, thank you so much for being our guest today. Love your entrepreneurial story, and we look forward to continuing to follow the great things that you're doing, and we wish you and your family much success and happiness.
Thanks, Derek, and I just want to say same for you and all the listeners. I'm super excited. I want everyone to be successful.
So do we. Thank you so much again, and take care.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be.